Hello sewing friends, and welcome to my channel. I'm Krista and this is Krista's Dress Shop, and I'm here in my sewing studio this morning and I'm working on a dress that I haven't had in the shop in quite a while, or the style of it, with a certain type of lace. So I thought I would go ahead and bring you in close and show you how I would do this hem. And actually I used to do a ton of these and I haven't had one in for a while, and they're a little difficult on the hem. And this new one though, the factory actually did a completely different hem on it. And so I'm going to copy what the factory did, and the bride is great with that. Remember, it's always important to discuss all the different options with your bride, give her maybe price differences and difficulty. So I always let my bride kind of choose some options. So let me actually, it doesn't quite fit on my mannequin. It's a 00, size 00. So it's bulging all funny right here because it doesn't fit on the mannequin. But basically, let me bring you down to the hem because that's what I want to talk about. Okay, we are down here on the floor because I wanted to show you. This is, you'll know this dress if you've had it in your shop and the unique lace that it has. It's very scalloped. In fact, I have had some of these that have scallops that are probably this long. The scallop is this part right here. And some of these, if you get them into your studio, go way up and then way down and way up and way down. So one of the problems with hemming these is the fact that if you follow that scallop, you're going to end up having it look too short in spots or be too long in spots. You could see your shoes. It's up to the bride on how she's going to want that hemmed. And so I usually will show them different ways. This is the train actually, because I want to show you this one does have a different hem. But I would hold up, say this was the hem, and I would hold it up for the bride in front of a mirror, and I would show her. Now this one, like I said, doesn't have as big as scallops. But I would show her, if I make it so that you can't trip, then when the scallop goes up and down, you're going to see your feet like that. Show her some different options with the lining being all the way down, then you can see the lining. Show them different options, like if you raise it high, then they could do like a T-length. I've had people do that where, because it was so crazy scalloped, we raised it to be, they wore cowboy boots, and we just kind of raised it up to be a little bit more T-length, which was really cute with cowboy boots. But this has always been a struggle with these dresses, and if you've had them in your studio, you actually know what I'm talking about. So, like I said, some of them will come way up and way down and way up and way down. This one's kind of nice. It has smaller ones here. But you also have to decide, is your lining layer, usually your lining layer is going to go to the highest part of the scallop. But when you have one that's really high scalloped, you have your lining up here, and then you have this strip, down here, and you end up, where you can see like that. And I found a couple other interesting things about this dress. Number one, it had an edging here that you could possibly, if this was in the front, I could possibly trim this out and sew this back on up at the hem. That's one option. You could also just fussy cut it. Say this was your pattern here. So you may choose to fussy cut it maybe around each of these flowers and around here. You have to decide with the bride how you guys want to hem that. And so it's just usually fussy cutting. And in this case, you could sew this one back on, but most of them didn't have this on the dresses that I've gotten into the studio before. But look at what they did here. They just cut it off at the hem and did a straight line. So instead of having to deal with that scallop, what I would have done if it wasn't for the factory doing this already, and I showed the bride this hem, so when I go to repeat that up here, she doesn't think I just did a cheap job of it, because on some of the other ones, I would have maybe right here, you could actually see it. Some of the other ones, we would have kind of followed this here and done the scallop, but then you always see a ton of shoes right through here. And like I said, some of the patterns we've had have gone way up and way down. But I'm just going to finish this one the way that they did it at the factory. So I'm just going to go ahead and do a rolled hem. So you can see how this designer just did a rolled hem and then ended it and then let this part scalloped. I'm going to go ahead and do the rolled hem and see if maybe I could add a few more scallops here. That's what I think I'm going to do, because I don't really like how that's ending so abruptly. But I'm going to lay that out, map it out, and see if I can do a rolled hem and maybe go into a cute little train there. Let me show you a closer up. They just did the rolled hem right into the scallop. Now how it normally is with these gowns is there's a complex scalloping, and then there's seams, and then they've patched them together, and then you have to finish the other scallops to try to get it all to blend. And it's quite interesting to sit and map it out. So I thought you guys would find this very interesting. A different way that this company went to do it. So in the future, when I have these types of dresses with this kind of lace, I have this feeling I'm going to offer them two options, especially if they have a big scallop. I'm going to offer them the fact that I can either make it fully scalloped in the front, and we could either have it too long with the scallops hanging down or too short with the scallops showing their shoes. Or I can give them now this option of just doing a rolled hem and then fading it out into some scallops. Okay, I thought I'd bring you in close and show you a rolled hem. This is actually the rolled hem from the designer or the factory, and it's just cut off, but I thought it'd be easier to show you on this. So pretend like you're marking either with a, some sort of a tailor mark, or say you've got a pin in there and that is where your floor is, where you want it to finish. So what you would want to do is go just a little bit longer. I'll turn it around and show you. Just about one roll longer. And I'm going to do my first stitch. And you do about 1/4 of an inch. My particular foot actually has a marking right there, so I always do that. And the reason why this particular one was a little different was because of these spaces in between, which made it very interesting for rolling a hem. But I'm just going to go down. Doing that at about 1/4 of an inch, and say I did the entire, let me try to get to my scissors, sorry, I'm going to move you. So say I did the entire hem, and you still have this section here that would be the rest of your hem, and this is right before the floor where you're going to turn it over. So then you're going to trim, making sure you don't cut the actual good part of the hem that you're keeping. You just cut right along that line. And I know some of you have recommended certain scissors, and I have not gotten around to going to get those. They're like a duckbill scissors that make sure that you don't cut, but I've been doing this for so many years. Okay, so see, I've got my first seam there, and then I'm going to fold that over right on the stitch that I already created. And of course, when I'm done with it, I do a back stitch, but I'm only doing a small little sample stitch for you. But then this is the inside, you can see that, and this is your outside. Now, where your marks are, and when you have your mannequin, it should land just perfect when you put it back on the mannequin, or where your marks are, so that it lands right at the floor, or just touching the floor a little bit. Just like that. So now I am just putting it on my mannequin right after I did the first stitch for the rolled hem. I just did phase 1, which was to do a seam all the way around, 1/4 inch. And before I cut it, when you're doing something this drastic, I like to check, and recheck and say, okay, is this, before I do any cutting, is this exactly the way I want it to be? So I will go ahead and check it on the mannequin before trimming for the second cut. I just want to make sure everything's doing good. One thing I did notice, on this lace, I haven't had to sew on this lace before. It's very thin. It's like a tablecloth almost, you know, those, your grandma's lace tablecloths. That's pretty much what it is. And I've never really officially sewn with this machine on it. One thing I did notice in my first stitches, it gathered up really bad on my machine. So before I do my second seam, I need to play around with that, with maybe a little bit of the extra, and get my tension just right, because this is screwing up my tension. But now that I see, you can see here in the mirror that my hem is doing good. It's where I want it to be. It's landing where I want it to land. Then I'm ready to just trim the excess edge, and then I will roll it over and do my second rolled hem stitch all the way around. Then it will be officially done on the outside layer. My lining option on this is that they have it into a very small little train. So I have actually pinned where the floor is to her, and I might go just a little longer than that in the back and hem it to the floor in the front. And that way it's not tangling up around her ankles, because this train really is an illusion train. An illusion train means that the lining doesn't go all the way to the end, and so you can see the floor or the grass or whatever underneath the lace, which I think is a really pretty look. And you might be able to see it better if I go ahead. I've got the sample piece of satin that I did. So say this is going to be easier to show you. So say you had gone through and marked your hem, and it needs to land right there. There's the floor. I don't know if you could see that on camera. My pins are drying out. But there's like purple marks. Or you can pin them. And then this is the bottom of your hem that came from the factory, and this is where you need to hem it up to. So what I like to do is do it just a little longer. Let me see which direction. So this is the top of it. It's hard when there's not a dress attached to it. Let's see. So I want to go, this is the bottom, this is the top. So I want to go, for my first seam, I want to fold it just about 1/4 inch longer than pinned. And sometimes you're doing this kind of underneath, kind of feeling out where it's at. Oh, also, I need to change my needle here, because I did a dress with beads, and if you have any kind of nicks on your needle, it will actually snag it. I don't know if you can see that on camera. I won't worry about changing it for this. But these satins, especially these really delicate satins, if you have a snag on your needle, it will pull and you'll get some little snags. So change out to a brand new sharp needle and you'll be so much happier with your hem. Okay, so this now is the bottom of my skirt. This is the top. And so I'm going to come along and trim out the bottom, except for all the way around. Pretend like that was all the way around. And then, every once in a while, do you guys have a problem with your machine like grabbing a little piece of thread that gets dirty underneath there? This machine has always done it, even since it was brand new. Anyways, then I'm going to fold that over like that. All the way around again. So there is the inside rolled hem done twice, and here would be the outside hanging off of my dress right there. Okay, my other layer, it was kind of between the lining layer and the outside lace layer, were these two, it's kind of stretch knitting, a jersey kind of tulle-ish. It's almost like that fabric that you'll see a lot of them that's skin-toned. This one is skin-toned and this one is ivory. That you'll see kind of in the modesty spots, like right here, and sometimes sleeves. That's what that fabric was in between. So there was a layer of ivory and then a layer of nude to add color. So this one is pretty easy, and I actually cut this while the dress is on the mannequin so I get the floor just perfect. And I usually have my marked spots, and I do it after I've done my lace layer because I don't want this sticking out of, well, of course it's different when you have a rolled hem. When it was scalloped, I don't want this sticking out of the scalloped area, but I still don't want it popping out. So I want that to kind of be behind the rolled hem. So I wait until I've done the lace layer, and then I basically, the key to these, and these are actually sewn together as if they are one. So that side seam is completely together. So it's hard to cut them separate, and I usually will do them pretty much together. Now this one is hard. You don't want to get like anything choppy. So I kind of cut until my scissors, I don't cut them all the way through. Then I go recatch right at that spot, cut, but not all the way through, recatch, cut. The key to this is getting the smoothest. Sometimes you have to go back and actually make sure that you haven't gotten any rugged edges or rough edges. So like that, you want it to be really smooth. That's how you can tell it's professional. You don't have any like choppy spots. Very important. And then once you've done that, a really important thing for tulle layers and for any layers that you cut, is that now that you've cut this, right over where the seam is, this is now open to fray and open up. So you need to go back to your seams at the bottom, and I usually just take them on my sewing machine, and right here at the bottom I just back stitch, straight, back stitch, and that makes sure that you don't have this problem here where the bride is dancing or moving her legs around and all of a sudden her dress splits up the front or up the sides or something like that. You don't want that to happen. So make sure that you go back in cut layers and secure your seams down at the bottom. And that's for tulle layers, for, I'm trying to think, most of it is either this stretch tulle or regular tulle or soft tulle. You don't do it to organza because you are sewing a rolled hem on other layers, and that locks it in. Also, a little bit of a bonus, I thought I'd show you how I bustled this dress. Sometimes I'll go high if they want something simple, and I'll just put 1 point or 2 points up. But the seam line here is in a V, and so I followed the seam line. Let me undo it and show you that. I just have my loops along the seam line and my buttons down on the train, and I found some kind of white pearl buttons to hide. And the loops here, let me pull them back under. I just put a little tiny bit of a pearl bead so that they can pull out the loops. And I have many videos on doing bustles, but I thought I'd just show you how this one was bustled. So just bringing those up, and I like to twist them, put them on. I'm not going to do that for all of them, but for the bride, and untwist it. And I'm just going to hook them up just to show you. And then just tuck your points, or pull the points out in. I think I twisted that one too much. But there, you've got a kind of a low bustle that goes with the seam line. So thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and I wish you happy sewing and a wonderful week, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye. Love you guys.